My husband wanted to test me to see if I married him for his wealth, so when his first love came back, he offered me a sum of money to make room for her. He thought I would cry and plead with him to stay, but he didn't expect me to simply take the money, leave a divorce decree, and disappear. 4 years later, I became a well-known actor and raised a child on my own. When I returned, I didn't expect to encounter him while meeting investors for a movie. Matthew stared at me with intensity, and the familiar, stifling feeling made it hard for me to breathe. I quickly found an excuse to leave, but before I could reach the door, Matthew grabbed my wrist. You disappear for 4 years without a word, and now you suddenly reappear? I turned around, confused by his anger, because I thought he wanted me gone. Since when do I have to report to you, Matthew? This isn't your Drufras, I retorted sarcastically. You're right, Drufras is not my family, but you were and still are my wife. Why did you leave without a word? Did you ever think about me? Matthew's suppressed anger finally exploded. He couldn't understand how I could leave so easily, without a trace. I was surprised by his words. Mr. Gibson, you seem to have forgotten that we've had no relationship for 4 years, and I already sent you the divorce papers, so please be mindful of your words to avoid any misunderstandings. I responded sharply. At the mention of the divorce papers, Matthew clenched his fists and quickly reminded me, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I never signed those documents. You are still my wife. I widened my eyes in shock. I thought he would be eager to finalize the divorce and move on with the person he truly cared about. With or without a signature, it's time to end this, I said coldly, breaking free from his grasp. I put on my sunglasses and mask to hide my appearance, then I glanced at Matthew and asked, Mr. Gibson, can I leave now? You want a divorce? Not happening, Matthew sneered, surprised at my insistence on formalizing the divorce rather than reconciling him. My face became rigid. What do you want, Matthew? There's no love between us. If you don't end this peacefully, I'll take legal action. Do you really think you can win a divorce? Matthew asked. I fell silent, given my circumstances. Disclosing my marital issues or hiring a lawyer seemed impossible. I fumed inwardly. This man is unbelievable. Refusing to waste any more words, I pushed Matthew aside. Caught off guard, he stumbled back, watching me leave. Each step I seemed to make his expression grow darker. From the moment I saw Matthew, my mood had been ruined, and unease lingered into the evening. After a few restless hours, my agent Melanie woke me at dawn. I got ready quickly and left the hotel, only to find Henri, Matthew's assistant, waiting at the entrance. Mrs. Gibson, he said, and his greeting immediately irritated me. I gave him a cold look and said, Mr. Zeller, I am no longer Mrs. Gibson. I am divorced. Please don't address me that way. Yes, Mrs. Gibson, Henri replied without missing a beat. Momentarily speechless, I realized he didn't take my words seriously. Henri continued, Mrs. Gibson, please follow me. Mr. Gibson is waiting for you in the car. Without replying, I turned my back on him, ignored the nearby luxury car, and led Melanie to my own vehicle. Mrs. Gibson. Henry's voice followed me as I once again shot him a sharp look. He hesitated, watching me leave, unsure whether to pursue me. What a tough job, he muttered under his breath. Melanie glanced back at Henri, who remained motionless, and asked me curiously, Carmela, do you know him? Is he your ex-husband's assistant? Yes, I replied. If he's here, does that mean your ex-husband is nearby? Melanie asked cautiously, spotting the luxury car parked on the